Is it live? Let me call JC.
I think Wayne still needs to be put in. All right. Do we have to have a motion to reconvene?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to reconvene in open session?
So moved.
Does anyone want a second?
Second.
Thank you. Can we just do by all in favor?
All in favor? Yeah, you don't need a roll call.
Aye. Okay.
Aye. Yeah.
All right. So thank you. Sorry for the delay to the public. So now we're awaiting Albert Kroll, who's going to give us a SID Management Corporation report. So we're just contacting Mr. Kroll, and he'll be on very shortly.
JC got my message. She said, okay.
All right, so for anyone who's just signing in, we just came out of closed session, and the next part of the agenda will be a presentation about the SID Management Corporation report. So I see Mr. Kroll and his team is just signing on. So we'll be starting that in just a few moments. Hi, Mr. Kroll. Thank you for your patience. Can you hear us?
Hi, it's Linda Dunham. I think we're all calling in under the same Al Crow. So I don't see Al on yet.
Yeah, Al's on.
He is.
I see
Okay,
Al, but
yeah,
it doesn't seem like he can hear us. Oh,
He's connecting his audio.
There we go.
okay,
Can you hear me?
Mr. Kroll. So
Hey,
thank you
Ken,
for
how are
your
you?
patience. And so the floor is yours.
The floor is ours. Okay. Well, thank
Or
you for
actually,
the
a little square on my screen is yours. Yeah.
Okay, fine. All right. Thank you for the opportunity for the SID to present. I want to say hi to everybody. I also have with me on tonight Linda Dunham, my co-chair of the SID, and JC Raimondo was supposed to be dialing in. She had to leave her house. She's going to try to join in at some point. But I just wanted to first thank the council for voting us up for another term, our entire board. And then also appreciative of having Wayne Hamer appointed again as our council liaison. I like to keep the continuity with the amount of projects that we have going on. And just I want to enforce the fact that the SID is not an organization unto itself. We consider ourselves an arm of the city of Englewood and look to the council and the city for their support throughout all the projects that benefit the Central Business District, and the city. And with that, I'm gonna let Linda Dunham take over this part of the presentation, then I will get back on.
Okay. Good evening, everybody, and thanks again for the opportunity to speak to you. As a member of the CID board of the board members, I just want you to know that we're longtime members, business owners. I think we come with a certain set of circumstances. We are accustomed to being successful. We're accustomed to setting goals, and we're also accustomed to having our goals completed at some point in time. We commit our time and our energy every month, and more often as needed, to make sure that we are doing what we can for the good of all of Inglewood, and especially the downtown area. So over the last couple of years, we've set a pretty aggressive agenda. I think it's pretty robust. We have quite a long agenda at each of our meetings. And at this point, we have one purpose, and that purpose is to do everything that we can to improve, benefit the entire city of Inglewood. But I have to tell you, lately at our meetings, we've expressed a lot of frustration. We're frustrated because we see ourselves as being responsible and doing what we set out to do for the good of the city. What we're finding out, though, is that our efforts seem to be stalled at this point. So we're coming here tonight, not to gripe, not to blame anybody, but to ask that we could all figure out a way to work together, that we could collaborate to move our agenda forward for the benefit of the city. I think the only way that we can be successful is if we do find that collaboration. How do we work together? That's what we're looking to find out. We can't be successful and move our agenda forward without this collaboration. And I believe that we all have the same goal. We all want to get things done. We all want to benefit the Central Business District and all of Inglewood. So at this point, I just want you to help us, as do my other members, figure out how we can be more effective at serving Inglewood. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Al, so he'll tell you some of the achievements that we've had over the last year or so. Al?
Okay, so yes, just touching on a few of the items. We have a number of capital projects that we're dealing with. First, accomplishments. Let's go with this. We start with something as simple as a downtown porter to maintain the downtown on a daily basis, picking up miscellaneous papers and debris. We also partake in the awning replacement program. The business approaches us. We help them replacing their awnings. Two of the other things we did over the past couple of years was, and it might sound trite, but cleaning of all the sidewalks in the Central Business District, cleaning of the awnings that needed it in the Central Business District. Again, somebody drives into Englewood, you want the city to be presented in its best possible foot forward. Other items, we deal with seasonal plantings throughout the downtown, landscaping. We have an active program of tree replacement throughout the Central Business District. We also undertook the cleaning of the municipal garage, which I will get back to on Dean Street. And then also we're participating or helping the city as far as financing parking meter replacements. That's something we actually need the council's input on, in addition to everybody at the city. I want to touch on a couple of very important items that are going on. When we undertook the cleaning of the municipal garage, there were found to be infrastructure issues with the garage. I want to say the garage is about 10 or 12 years old at this point. And we noticed there's failures in the concrete. There's failures in other aspects of the garage. The lighting needs to be upgraded again. These are expensive projects. We've put together a budget between the repairs to the concrete and dealing with the lighting and dealing with waterproofing of somewhere between $500,000 and $700,000. I know we had this discussion with the city manager, with Sonia, who's on tonight. Hello, Sonia. And she mentioned that there would possibly be some areas in the city's budget under capital improvements. We want to stress as a board that this is a project that really needs to be looked at because it affects the structural integrity of the garage. Not that it's in any danger. I don't want to scare anybody, but these are things that need to be addressed. Okay. We want to continue rolling out our parking meter implementation program. We're also looking into going out to bid on the improvement of the city parking lot on William Street. I don't know if some of you remember that. We've discussed it over the past couple of years. We have complete drawings on it. We want to go out to preliminary bids on it, so we're confirming our budget numbers, but that'll add another 24 to 26 parking spots in the central business district where it's needed on the west side of the city. The next couple of projects we're dealing with is we are retaining a lighting consultant to deal with the lighting of some walk-through alleyways, both from Palisade Avenue back to the Bergen Street lot and from Dean Street back to the lot behind the stores on Dean Street across from City Hall. And lastly, on our quick agenda, we're also looking into streetscape improvements through the entire central business district, whether it's upgrading something as mundane as trash cans or benches or more sitting opportunities or more landscape opportunities to help beautify the downtown. On a more global agenda, and I brought this up at a couple of meetings with the SID board, was dealing with or helping to facilitate dealing with the downtown flood control issues. I've done a lot of research on that myself as a design consultant. I'm willing to sit. It's a larger project than a city project. This will also involve at some point the state and the county and state governments, but that's a very long-term goal. But the one I want to come back and refocus on is the whole parking meter implementation. And part of the frustration that we've had as a SID board is we're trying to roll this program out to get it done. A lot of research was done relative to the parking hardware, not only by the SID, but also by the predecessor organization, the EEDC, and we're trying to get it implemented. With all this being said, there's a lot of fingers involved or a lot of facets of the city involved with this, whether it be the chief financial officer, the city manager's office, the police department, et cetera. We just want to put forth that based on projected revenues or historic revenues, I should say, of the parking and the meter take, the city might want to consider creating a position of, I don't want to call it a parking authority, but at least a point person to help coordinate this. This is a full-time project, and it's not something that a board of volunteers can undertake. So we want to throw that out there. Anyway, we were told to keep this short. Wayne said we had only 10 minutes. We don't want to go over that. So if any of you have any questions, please let us know.
Yeah, I'll get started. First of all, thank you for talking about flood control. And obviously the aftermath of Ida is something that's extremely important to the council and something we've discussed pretty much at every meeting the past 6 months or 5.5 months at this point. So, and I think, the longer term flood mitigation, as you identified, is, beyond the city, involving the state, and will be a long-term project. And we're in the midst of studying that ourselves. Is there anything immediate that can be done that you, as a representative of the SID, can ask us for right now? So, for example, if we knew an exact replica of Ida was coming a week from tonight, and ironically it did happen during a council meeting, what could we do today to help with that if it's happening on February 22nd?
I don't think there's a quick solution to this. My discussion relative to flood control not only dates from post Ida, but I'm a long-term, I was born and raised in Englewood. Ironically, in my career, I've been working back in Englewood for the past 35 years. Okay, so it's any sense of a heavy rain causes an issue. Do I think there's immediate solutions to this? I don't believe so. Keeping waterways clear and clean is a huge help. The problem starts down in the Meadowlands and works its way back up into the city. All right, it has to do with cleaning channels, cleaning drainage culverts, cleaning those areas north of Englewood, Demarest Avenue, et cetera. Part of the issue with Ida was all the dirt and sediment that everybody saw downtown. That came from all the way up at Brookside Cemetery. So it's a lot bigger issue than quick solutions to this in case another imminent, storm like Ida was coming. So I don't have an answer for that, Ken. I'm sorry. I wish I did, because it affects a lot of the stores in the downtown. It affects a lot of our tenants. Palisades Court, all the way up and down Palisade Avenue, Dean Street. I mean, Ida was unforgiving. Just that was one I had never seen before, but I don't believe there is any quick solution to this.
Just a few more questions. So,
Ken, just to
wait.
stop for 1 second. Al, I just want to add to your response. In addition to clearing the culverts and doing some real dredging work and some restoration on some of the waterways that water courses through the city, because we sit in the valley from Northern Valley. So all of that sediment from the building and overbuilding that comes into the waterways up there washes down through Inglewood out to Overpeck. So absolutely clearing the culverts and doing some dredging both in McKay Park and other tributaries that run through the city would absolutely make it a mitigation difference. It wouldn't solve the problem, but it certainly makes a real difference. And
Yes,
some of the study that Franz is doing would also help, looking at weak points in the system to see where flow is strongest and the system's weakest. So just adding that to what you said.
yeah, no,
Okay.
thank you. Al, so first of all, I think the garage is 15 years old. If I remember, it came online 2006 or 7.
Well, I said about 12, so give me a little
Yeah,
slack. Okay.
So, and I forget the structure. So it's 50% privately owned?
I don't know the structure that remains with that. So, as
Bill,
far as
do you
the
know
legal
the
side.
ownership of the
Yeah,
garage?
I believe the city actually owns it. However, the agreement that goes back 15, 20 years, probably even before it was built, has a sharing mechanism of the revenues received from the people paying to park there.
Do we know if there's a sharing of capital improvements?
I can
repairs?
check. I don't
Yeah.
believe so. I can check.
Okay. But I guess the main question is, tell what would you specifically, and this is to Linda too, specifically, what do you need us to do? And if there was an ordinance, what would it say? What do you need to have done?
I missed part of
Or
your
something on the
question.
capital budget. Yeah, I'm just trying to get an actual concrete, pun intended, idea here.
Are you talking about, Ken, specifically with the garage or just in general?
Well, you just said efforts are stalled and you're frustrated. So if you had if you could hypnotize us all for 15 minutes, what would you have us do?
I think the most important thing that we're working on right now is the parking, and it's complex. There's so many different lots and different, equipment there and different things needing to be done. And I think we're just looking for a path forward. Al talked about the accountability, somebody to kind of shepherd that through. On our end, we do have JC, who's done an awful lot of work. I know she's worked with Sonia, other members, Adam has worked along with that. I think at this point, if we could just really be clear about what we're undertaking with the meter situation, what we have to purchase, what we have to have installed, what type of reporting are we going to get on a quarterly basis, if not monthly, that shows us the revenue that's coming in, because we do expect at some point to be reimbursed for the outlay of funds. I think the other thing that we're talking about is it needs a day-to-day person. I believe the city might be losing revenue because the police say they're unable to enforce it sometimes, the ticketing, because of what is installed presently. So I think we just need to get a clear document, accountability, get the reporting, and move forward to get it as much done as possible. I think it's something we all want to have done.
Sonia, was there a parking authority in Maplewood?
There was one in Summit,
Okay.
and I did work there. So it was a I mean, it's as big as Englewood, so I would be of the mind and make a recommendation to have a parking authority. It's quite a lot for even our own police department to undertake. We have been providing JC with the reports to start doing the reconciliation of the accounts. They're not the easiest reports to read, so you do kind of have to, break it down in your own way. But we have way too many lots for right now. What we're doing is basically dispersing just different responsibilities to DPW, my staff, JC, police, and it does get hard, and we have to meet often just to kind of see where everything is. And with the project, it would be good to have a designated department itself to do the parking project, to get all of the meters up and running. So
do you think that's something that would cost us money because we'd be hiring more staff, or make us more money because we'd have more enforcement? And not that we want to make money just by giving a million tickets out, but we do have parking limits for a reason, to keep the traffic flowing so more people can get to the stores, et cetera.
Yeah, Ken, if I could interject on that point, given the revenues, I know when we first established our agreement with the city as far as reimbursing SID for the outlay of cash, the estimated parking revenue was about $450,000 a year. I gotta believe that some of that can be carved out to hire somebody
yes.
and to run this. And I think if it's run in a more efficient manner and watched, somebody's task is to watch this, it can only increase revenue vis-a-vis not only enforcement, but just increase revenue based on implementation. Okay,
Just
at least that's our.
Just to your point, it would cover itself. I don't know that the city would pay additional monies to have the staff. So you would essentially have a director, then you would have somebody that would do the, one or two people to do the calling, the troubleshooting, and then you have your parking enforcement people to issue tickets, to go down the avenue, to make sure that the money's being collected from the machines, any sort of troubleshooting that has to happen. And so, and a lot of the times they're part-time positions. So it's not, most of the time you wouldn't be paying benefits out to, half of the staff in a subsection of a department in that sense. So, I mean, if it's the will of the council to try to do a study, to initiate a study, I know at times the DCA would come in and do that for cities. What they'll do is basically a design of a downtown and give you recommendations on what you should be doing. So, I can reach out to DCA if it's the will of the council and of course the CID, to get their input to see what they could offer to us as far as recommendations go. And how they do that is they come in, a planner comes in, they have planners on staff, and put a whole report together. They have community input through surveys. So it's a long process, but I think it would be worth the while because we do have a very large downtown, and you might want to kind of split it into two districts, depending how what the recommendations are. So I think the first thing we need to do is do a study.
All right, Ken, you had mentioned before about if we could wave a magic wand here, okay? I think umbrella in this whole process, or whatever the processes might be, is a spirit of collaboration and cooperation, okay? We don't want to present to the council just once a year, even twice a year with budgeting. We want to appear periodically. I'm not talking every other month. I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 times a year, so the council knows what's going on. As far as what Sonia had just mentioned about another study, okay, that's all well and good, but we're in the middle of an attempt to roll out a system. So the sooner these things could happen, the better for everybody. It's not for the CID, it's for the city. So I don't want to, hopefully, or we don't want to have this conversation again 6 or 8 months from now. We want things to be moved. We want things off our plate. I know the mayor, hello, Michael. The mayor has attended a number of our meetings, and he's like the amount of stuff on our agenda is just increasing. We're trying to get stuff off the plate. This is one of the key issues that we're trying to get off our plate and into a fully functioning system.
Just wanted to
I've said
say-
too much.
I'm sorry.
I'd just like to add that I think also the magic wand is that priority list of things that we have right now for the continuation of the parking project. We have a couple of things on hold and we need to know if we're moving forward, who's going to take ownership of it. JC has done a great job so far, but I think we also, JC and Sonia, maybe you have a meeting coming up so we can talk about next step in some of those situations. Because we're at a stalemate right now.
With regard to the parking specifically, is that what we're referring to?
Yes.
Okay.
So I don't know, you two may have a meeting coming up that I'm not aware of, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure, but we have been talking back and forth with regard to the reporting and the integration of the system. So I can follow up with JC to see where she's at with IPS and that portion of the integration. So
And she is sharing with us the revenue collected. One of them we've labeled a data dump. I think it's like 1,000 pages. And so we've looked at that to see what's collected, cash versus credit cards. And we also get the summary that we're seeing what's a more, concise report. So thank you for making those available. We still need to work on a better reporting system.
And I am on the
There's
call. I'm sorry. It took me a while to unmute. Hi, Sonia. My understanding was that I was waiting for the city that was dealing with IPS in terms of the integration of the Park mobile app. I don't want to get too into the weeds, but I was standing down because I was under the understanding that the city was asking me not to contact IPS with regard to the software that was trying to be produced. So if I was under some misunderstanding, let me know right now and I'll call IPS tomorrow. But I'm very confused about my role. It kind of changes sometimes. And I think to speak to the reporting, yes, it's great. Catherine's been sending us, I think since December, a very detailed report that we don't really need, but also a general report that shows monthly revenue that we've been recording. But in order to have some kind of process where SID eventually does get reimbursed, we need to agree on a process, what's netted out of those revenues, because they're gross revenues. Are there city IPS costs that get netted out before we start looking at the number to reimburse SID for? We all have a resolution that the city council passed, so we know what the average, we know, I think it's 448,000 over that revenue amount, then SID starts getting paid back. So I think what we'd like is a meeting with whoever has the authority at the city to sit down and present a process and a procedure that we all agree on, and then it can just take care of itself every month, and it just needs to be monitored. So I'm open to meeting with you on that, Sonia, anytime you like.
With regard to that, it sounds to me that you need the council to come up with an agreement with the CID on how the revenue is going to be or what's actually going to be reimbursed to the CID, if there's not one already.
I can speak to that. There is an agreement in place. Bill drafted it, the council passed it, and SID has it as well. But what is needed is a little bit of clarity on, how those numbers are going to be derived. A summary report that shows, just as was alluded to by Linda first and then JC, what the revenues are that are coming in, what the costs are that the city has to pay for before any revenue above that is shared with or distributed to SID for reimbursement. So both Bill and Michael, probably need to get together to determine what those numbers look like, and then a report needs to be generated out of IPS that that someone on the city side controls, that gets created monthly and then sent to SID, so that we can all be on the same page with which way the revenue is generated and flowing.
Here,
Okay.
Yeah, Ms. Marin.
I believe Sonia put an idea out suggesting that we look into the necessity of having a parking, I don't know what you want to call it, a parking czar for the city of Englewood. Instead of just letting that idea lay there, I mean, how does everyone on the council feel about that? I think it's a great idea.
I think it's a great second step.
I think the city had, the person's name escapes me, but when I first started in Englewood, they had and I think that's how they referred to her, was the parking czar.
Oh, I don't know where I got it
Was
from.
it a full-time position, Bill?
Talking about Karen Rawl?
Karen?
Yeah, I
No.
don't think that was her sole responsibility, so it wasn't a full-time, like truly full-time, but.
Well, back, last time I was on the council, we did talk about starting a parking authority, and we all agreed since light rail was imminent, we would wait till after that came on board and we knew where all the parking garages would be. So here we are 12 years later. I'm glad I didn't hold my breath during that time. I'd be pretty blue by now. But yeah, but maybe the time is now.
So can we ask Sonia to proceed with looking into getting someone to come in and assess the need and the parameters of the position, and, so we can move this forward the way what Wayne said. It's a second step, but we should be doing it, I think.
I'm fully supportive of doing that in conjunction with getting that simplified report that spells out revenues and, what should be moved over to Sid on a monthly basis.
Michael, could we just then have a conversation about adding a position like that into the budget? Just so.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, sorry, about the authority. One thing you have to realize is if we do an authority, the revenues go away from the city budget. So that's $450,000 that we're going to lose from the city budget. Authority is like they have their own budget.
Yeah.
So we're going to lose any revenues that we have. We're going to have to make it up somehow or make cuts from the budget up to like $500,000. So that's one thing to consider also.
So
What
if
is the
we
parking
don't-
authority
I'm
do
sorry,
with that
Bill?
money?
Bill, if we don't create an authority, if we create the positions inside the city structure, doesn't that then become a unit, just a revenue generating unit that has to control different aspects of parking and report into the manager?
That's correct. I think that Michael was alluding to an authority is really an autonomous entity that
Correct.
has their own lawyer, their own budget. I think parking authorities even have the ability to take property by eminent domain. They can bond, but yes, if you bring it in-house, so to speak, then it's just kind of really a department within the city, and then the revenues come to the city.
And that's what we should be doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so that makes more sense.
And
I
the
would think
authority
before,
would
we gotta,
much
walk
more
before we
expensive.
run. And I think it wants to be all I said before was a point person. I don't care what you call it or call him or her, but I don't know that I would create a separate authority. I mean, that would be
No.
just crazy.
Well, let's call it a designated person or a designated subsection of my department, if you will. Just to Michael's point. So we'll work on that. We'll build that into the budget just so we could try to get together a position. I'd welcome the input of the CID so we can schedule a meeting, Mr. Hamer, to talk about what that position might look like. I know at one point you guys created another position where somebody was walking the downtown, so we can integrate that position into it. Would be helpful. The person that was doing the cleaning, was it someone?
Actually, it was security,
Okay.
additional safety.
Right,
Security,
so
safety.
we could put our minds together just so we could collaborate on because you've got some expectations here and Awan, so we want to make sure that we're delivering part of this moving forward this year. So, and right now is probably the best time because we're having these budget discussions.
In
So
regards
that-
to the, sorry. I think-
No,
in
go ahead.
regards to the reports that you want, that the best way to do, I could give reports every month, but we're not going to know what the revenue for the year is. If it's over $450,000, then we start with the percentage giving you guys. So if we can't give you money monthly, it'll be, I guess it'll be yearly. After the year is over, we see what the difference in the revenue is, and then we give you, send you the money that way. But we wouldn't be able to send you money monthly because we wouldn't know if we're going to reach over the $450,000 or not.
Yeah, I don't think a monthly reimbursement, I don't think we were talking about that. The way our agreement is, we had a break point, and anything over that, which we
Yeah.
have to annualize, then we deal with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in the meantime, I think it would be prudent that we at least send you a monthly report, just so you get to work off of something, because
Yes.
things are going to change right now. God willingly, we're going to come out of COVID and people are going to start, coming downtown and shopping and dining. So that's the hope.
I think the 10 minutes are about up, though, Ken.
I think we're just under it, so it's okay.
Okay. Did anybody have
All right,
any
so
other
we'll
questions
definitely
right now?
have you on again. What do you think would be a good time in May?
Well, I think, Wayne, don't we have a budget presentation in May?
We do.
Okay.
All right, so that'll be the next update, and we can figure out from there. Maybe after that would be September or so.
Okay. And I'd like to add, I know we typically, for our monthly meetings, we send out invites. We include Sonia and the mayor and whatever. I'm happy to send it to the board if you guys ever, to the council, if you guys ever want to dial into an 8 o'clock meeting, second Tuesday of the month. At least you'll have the invitation. You can always say no, but at least it's an open invitation.
We can fine tune that, because if too many council members or elected officials attend, it needs to be published as one of our meetings. So
Oh, then we're not doing that.
so we won't be doing that.
No. Okay.
We can always take attendance at the beginning and agree to sign off if we hit 3.
Right. There's
Okay.
one other thing, Al, that I just
Yeah.
wanted to add to the list of accomplishments, and that was the fee relief that
Thank you.
wasn't. Yeah. So if you want to speak to that briefly before we close out.
Thank you. What we did 2 years ago, God, I'm saying 2 years ago, in 2020, we forgave half, I believe it was, 2/4 of the SID taxes to the Central Business District, to the SID members. We carried that over to this past year, 2021, and forgave 1/4 of the current fiscal year of the SID taxes. We can do that. So we were happy to do it, and sort of a sign of support for the businesses in the downtown. So thank you, Wayne.
If I may, Ken, one last matter.
Yeah,
Thank you. I know it's kind of tangentially related. We put out a mural ordinance in order to get some creativity sparked before the pandemic and to regenerate our central business district. I think, Sonia, that Albert Trico, that group, would like to talk to you about some matters that are pending in the city on the mural ordinance, just as a gentle reminder to move that forward too. We have to think in the beauty and the creative, and I want to make sure that we put that back on track.
Okay.
Terrific.
If you don't need anything
All right.
else from us, we will say good evening and thank you for the opportunity to speak.
all right, thank you. Thank you for your
Okay,
patience.
thank
again.
you.
Have a good
Thank you,
night.
Linda.
Be well. Bye-bye.
Good night, everybody.
Okay,
Good night.
bye-bye.
All right, so Yancy, do we have minutes?
Yes, I emailed them out today,
Oh, okay.
end of today. There's
if I missed it.
the, can't remember the dates off the top of my head. It was the, January 3rd, 2022 reorg for this year, and then for last year, were 3 budget workshop meetings, February 3rd, February 9th, and February 11th.
Okay. Do I have a motion to accept these minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilman Cobb? Councilman Cobb, you're on mute.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Hamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Marin?
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig?
Yes. So that's passed. Okay, so ordinances for first reading. So how do we do this, Nancy?
So
Should I read it or?
the title, you'd like me to read the title?
Yeah, please.
Sorry, I didn't. Give me 1 second, I didn't include the chapter number in this. Let me just add it. Okay, so this is ordinance number 22-01, an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance of the city of Englewood by the addition of section 250-159 entitled Mandatory Affordable Housing Set Aside.
Do I have a motion for this to be passed on first reading and published once?
So
And have a
moved.
public hearing on March 15th?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Comments? No comments?
Okay, do you have any comments?
Yeah.
Okay, please go ahead.
Mr. Bailey, thank you for taking care of this, something that Councilman Hamer and I worked on for the last 3 or 4 years, getting that done. And hopefully we can move some of that other stuff that's kind of tied with that, with the setbacks and some other things that we had out there as well on this. And this is a long time waiting. I think one of the things we also have to do is define what affordable is and what low income housing is at some point to the public.
Absolutely.
Yes, Mr. Cohen.
Can I just say that there are official stats and numbers and ways to calculate, and there are guidelines as to how you define low income, middle income, work, and all those, when it comes to housing issues, those exist. So they don't actually have to be recalculated. There are methodologies.
They're dictated by the state.
Right. They exist. I mean, there's nothing to create. There's all exist and have existed for some time.
Okay. Any other comments from the council? Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Hamer?
Absolutely.
Councilwoman Marin?
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig?
Yes. Yancy, if you can read ordinance 22-02.
This is ordinance number 22-02, an ordinance amending chapter 250-8 and 191-7 of the City of Englewood's ordinances pertaining to land use development, application fees, procedures, and requirements.
Is there a motion to approve this for first reading?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comment by the council?
Did we go over the procedures for this? And where are the procedures written?
Yeah, they're in the body of the ordinance, the proposed ordinance. And it just, historically, Ken Albert had, I think, primarily overseen the whole escrow process for applicants before the zoning board. And Greg Fehrenbach had suggested, and we worked on it last year in terms of putting together an updated ordinance to really clarify the procedures and the posting of escrows and stuff by applicants that appear before the boards and things like that.
Can this be in the scope of the audits that Gary Vinci conducts for the city? Because it has to do with fees and procedures. I think so.
Tim, it doesn't, I can check with him. It's not revenue that goes to the city per se. To pay the city professionals for the board from the escrow, but I can tell before the public hearing.
Yeah, so Bill, I think as you described, that this is really just cleaning up the process, which I think
it
is
really
really
needed
frustrating for the applicants and the professionals.
Right, it needed to be updated, and then, you know, I think sometimes the city ended up chasing applicants for money that they owed. Because if they may have got their approval or denial, good luck getting the money from them.
And I just wanted to add to that, throughout this past year, we've been working with T&M to try to reconcile all of the escrow accounts as best as we could. Some are easier than others. I mean, Franz can speak to that also, but this really does clean up the process on our end to make sure that we can reconcile all of these old accounts moving forward and, you know, pay our vendors appropriately, timely. So this is a good step in the right direction.
Good.
Ms. Maron, did you have a question or a comment?
No.
All right. So Yancy, can we go to roll call?
Sure. Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Councilman Hamer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marin,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes, thank you. Motion's passed. All right, we'll now move on to public comment on the agenda items. So you can see on the resolution agenda items, so resolutions listed on pages 3 and 4 of our, and part of page 5. So Yancy, if there's anyone from the anyone from the public have a comment?
So just a reminder to the public, if you wish to speak, at the bottom of the page is a more raised hand, and you have 2 minutes to speak. Someone did raise their hand. Let me just prepare my clock. Okay, first is Mr. Leroy Campbell. Mr. Campbell, please unmute.
Good evening, everyone,
Good evening.
Good evening.
and happy birthday to Mr. Hamer.
Thank you, sir.
I have a comment for Mr. Cohen. Because Mr. Cobb made a comment about the affordable housing and low-income housing.
Yes, so,
And-
Mr. Campbell, this is for the resolutions that we're about to vote on, and we'll have an open public session pretty much shortly after that.
This is part of the resolution, isn't it? You just spoke about this.
No, that one's been voted on already, and we'll have a public session at the second reading on March 15th about the affordable housing and the escrow accounts. So this is just like the FEMA grants, open space trust, those resolutions.
But he just made a comment. Okay.
Yeah, but we finished that part of the agenda. We're on to the next part, which is comments on the resolutions before we vote on them. So we'll be discussing the affordable housing again in 4 weeks when we have the second reading, and that's when the public hearing will be. But first it has to be published in the newspaper and all that stuff.
Well, but that wasn't my concern. My concern was a comment was made. And as far as I'm concerned, the council might know what's going on, but the public doesn't know what's going on, and the public needs to go on when these comments or concerns are brought before the council. That was my comment.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Next is Diane Jansen. Diane, unmute.
Hello, excuse me. Diane Jansen, 589 Richland Terrace. Does this include the appointment for the Class 3 Planning Board member?
Yeah, it's for all the resolutions.
Okay, it was not clear in the agenda that that was so. So I just wanted to point that out. I find it very disheartening that this goes back to our discussion from last session. And Dr. Rosenzweig, you are the council president. You have control of the agenda. The Englewood Ida recovery team requested items to be placed on the agenda. They relate to flooding. You did not have them put on the agenda. And now you're going to be in charge, or the liaison, should you get voted in, to the planning board and have a vote there. Tonight, the CID raised important flooding information, and it was not addressed. It was pushed over. They talked about cleaning streams and the like. I feel that the power in the office of the city council president should not also be placed. You should, not you per se, but anyone who is the city council president at this time should not be placed on the planning board. We need fresh eyes. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yancy, is there anyone else?
No one else. No one else has.
Okay, so now close the public comment on the agenda. So we've broken up these votes. So the first vote will be on the consent agenda, which is items 65 through 73. And then we're going to vote one by one on the other items. So do I have a motion for to approve resolutions 65 through 73?
So moved.
Thank you. Anyone second it?
Second.
Thank you.
A question.
Yes, please.
Item 73, cooperative purchase of Seagrave fire apparatus. Can somebody remind me what that is?
Sure. That's actually for the apparatus that was damaged during Ida. So that's a replacement of that vehicle, and it is covered by our carrier.
When you mean it's covered by our carrier, what does that mean? We're getting replacement without any outflow?
Oh, except a deductible.
Got $2,000? That's all we have?
2,500, I believe, is the deductible, correct?
And we're gonna get a new replacement? That's what you're saying?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
What is do you know off the top of your head, what is our premium on our insurance for these type of, what are we paying? Because that apparatus, if I'm correct, is, what is it, like 700,000?
Yes,
Is
it's over 700,000.
It's about 780, I believe, and it is fully covered.
Right. So I'm saying, what do we pay as a premium? The city, it's got to be a lot, right?
Michael, do you have that number off the top of your head?
It's around 1.2 million,
Okay. All right.
give or take a few dollars. It's around.
That's what we're paying on the premium on that truck,
The-
right? That
No,
engine
That's the entire policy for the
No,
city.
policy.
for the
Right.
city?
Yes.
For
Covered.
for the fire department, right? Not for DPW or police,
No,
just
for
for the
everybody.
fire
No, the
department.
city,
Okay.
entire.
All right. If there are no other questions, can we do a roll call?
Okay, Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Councilman Hamer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Marin,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes. All right, so now we have the non-consent agenda resolutions. So the first one is number 40, the appointment of Mark Ruderman as Labor Counsel. So is there a motion?
Yes. Motion. So move.
Is there a second? Judy, you've been the seconder for tonight.
I know. All right, I second.
On the second, we table it. Blow it up.
No, I second it.
All right.
Enough with tabling.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Cobb,
No.
Councilman Cohen,
Come back to me if you can for a second. I'm just-
okay. Councilman Hamer,
No.
Councilwoman Maren,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig,
Yes.
and Councilman Cohen again.
Yes.
All
Okay,
right, so that's moved. So now we're on resolution number 50, appointment of Ken Rosenzweig as Class 3 member of the Planning Board. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Bill, am I allowed to second?
Yes.
All right, so I'll second it. Roll call, please.
Councilman Cobb,
Abstain.
Councilman Cohen,
Abstain.
Councilman Hamer,
I too abstain.
Councilwoman Maren,
Yes.
and Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes. So Bill, does that pass?
It does not. Need 3 affirmative votes.
All right. So that's officially blown up. Okay, so moving on to resolution 74. So Mr. Cobb, did you want to talk about these resolutions?
Yes. During Black History Month, we want to pay honor to certain people who have made tremendous contributions to this community. And John T. Wright, Reverend Walter Taylor, Shirley Lacey, Vincent K. Tibbs. And I believe they missed one. It should be Jack Drayford on there as well.
That wasn't on the list. You want to add it?
It's on the resolution, yeah. They provided the foundation for the leadership in the Black community, and oftentimes, and they set the standards for which we are guided by, and they made tremendous contributions, not only in the Black community, but in the city of Englewood as a whole, from whether it be jobs, whether it be housing, and there are many other things that each one of them have contributed. Walter Taylor was the first Black mayor in the city of Englewood, and happens to be today the only Black mayor, which is something that we shouldn't be proud of. We should have Latinos and more Black mayors, but it is what it is today. But I thought it'd be appropriate in honoring these people who have set the standard, created a foundation for leadership with that one.
Bill, what do we do?
And
that? Sorry,
excuse me?
I was going to ask Bill how to add Jack Drakeford to that resolution.
Yeah, yeah, if someone wants to move by unanimous consent to add Jack to that, and there's a second and a voice vote, which it will be added immediately.
I so move.
I'll second. I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great, thank you. So Charles, do you want to, we have 74, 75,
I'll take it.
76.
I'll take care of those.
Can we do all three together, or do you want to do them all
Yeah,
separately?
I think we should vote each one of them on its own merit.
Okay.
You know, and then we can, you know, then we'll be done with it just because of what they represent. I think everybody deserves their own stand.
Okay,
So
so do I have a motion to approve
Yes.
resolution 74?
I'll motion it.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Councilman Hamer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Maren,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes. Okay, Charles, if you can discuss number 75 for
Yeah.
State Senator Gordon
As we
Johnson.
all know, and if we don't know, that means you have to be living under a rock. That Gordon Johnson just was recently elected to the office of state senator, and he happens to be the first Black state senator from the county of Bergen. And I thought that we needed to honor his achievement or the achievement of the people who elected him to this position. And Gordon happens to be a resident of the city of Englewood. So, and I think everybody here knows Gordon pretty personal. So I thought it was, you know, it was an honor for us to honor him in this time. And anybody else have any comments, they can feel free to make them as well.
Yeah, well, I had the honor of serving with him on the council. And we sat next to, back when we actually met in person, we sat next to each other, and then I certainly learned a lot from him, and his elevation to state senator is well-deserved, and I'm so proud to know him. Yes, Mr. Cohen.
I think most of my comments about Gordon will be reserved for the for our comments from the council, but I'll go into more detail because I think it's probably more appropriate to do it during the communications from the governing body and city manager. But have incredibly warm feelings towards Gordon, and only want to offer him our biggest accolades and best wishes, and all the congratulations that we can possibly convey.
Just adding to the list, congratulations to you, Gordon. Well deserved.
Can I move on to the next one? Okay.
Oh, let's take a vote. I just want.
Oh, that's right.
You need a motion and second first.
A
Yeah.
motion.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Councilman Hamer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Maren,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes. Okay, and moving on to number 76, Charles.
Yes, and Arnold Brown, one of our esteemed elders in the city of Englewood, was the first Black assemblyman in Bergen County, and he's done a number of things around, and most recently raising money for the Martin Luther King statue. Councilman Hamer, correct me if I say something wrong there. He's been instrumental in raising money for that effort. And I think that he's done a lot of things. He's worked on the library board, and he's done a lot of things throughout the city of Englewood. So I thought it was appropriate at this time to honor Arnold Brown at this time as well.
Just to refine a little bit, it wasn't just raising money for the statue. It was leading the committee that oversaw the creation of that statue, and its placement on Fairley's campus.
And I can just say, and I'm just going to focus on a very, very small part of his tremendous accomplishments. But I have a library trustee downstairs, so and his advocacy for the Englewood Public Library has been extraordinary over the years. And he was, along with Mayor Wilds and others, the first honoree of the library at their dinner in September of 2019. So I definitely appreciate that. All right, so do we have a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Councilman Hamer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Maren,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes. And the final resolution authorized reimbursement as part of a settlement.
You
Bill,
want me
do
to
you want, yeah,
summary on that, Council President?
Yeah, please.
What this matter is the settlement of an Oprah suit. Mr. Loers is the attorney involved, and as a result of the settlement, the payment to him would be $3,600. And it has to do with this Oprah request came in. You know, there had been a moratorium on the 7 business days, if you might remember, during the pandemic. That was at one point lifted by the governor, but due to some tragic, frankly, circumstances in the city hall, we didn't hit the 7 business day deadline. So that was the nexus or genesis of the suit. This is the settlement of that for $3,600. Under Oprah, the attorney gets attorney's fees under the statute. So there's not a whole lot of discretion here, and the amount was negotiated down. So it's a little time sensitive because there was the court case still technically pending.
All right.
So moved.
I'll second it. Can we have a roll call?
Councilman Cobb,
Yes.
Councilman Cohen,
Yes.
Councilman Hamer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Maren,
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig.
Yes. All right, so now I'll move on to communications from the governing body and city manager. Mayor Wilds.
Good evening, everybody. We have about 16 attendees in a city of about 30,000 people. And I have to tell you that things, thank God, seem to be in a point of measure and calm. Ladies and gentlemen, get your vaccines, and please be in touch with physicians as far as the boosters and making sure that you're in touch with the latest protocols. Thank you to our health department for the Moderna, the J&J, the Pfizer clinics that they have. Thank God hospitalizations and deaths seem to be stabilizing in our fair city. As stated, this is Black History Month, and I would like to also just briefly state how important it is for us to revel in the history that we have. Dr. King, Malcolm X, came to the Liberty School in Englewood. Rosa Parks was awarded a key to the city by a prior mayor. Arnold Brown, Gordon Johnson, Jack Drakeford, Pastor Taylor, Reverend Dennison, these are the individuals, the true leaders of the Black community and the Black experience that I've had the honor to get to know through the years. And it's something we need to revel in and take pride, because a step in that community is a step for all communities. I hosted John Lewis years ago in Englewood, and we've been graced by luminaries that will remind us that the differences between us really are things that ought to be bringing us together, not separating us. This is also Teen Dating Violence Awareness Month. and a lot of other wonderful issues that are being heralded by the nonprofits in our community. So I urge everybody to get involved and to be engaged and to join me every Friday at 11 o'clock on the library's Facebook and Zoom page if you'd like updates on any and all other important issues that are facing our fair city. Again, 11 o'clock Friday, and it's available on social media where I go into greater detail in all matters Englewood. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cobb?
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming to tonight's meeting. I'm going to be brief. I just want to continue to thank the nonprofits for all the work they've done and the outreach that they have conducted to help those who have been displaced. I think things are moving in the right direction, and hopefully shortly, in short order, everybody would have been placed in some type of housing until 111 gets opened up again. But it's important that this work continues and that we be sensitive to the needs of those people, because truly the city can't move forward unless those people move forward. They are participants in this city, just like all the rest of us are. So just be sensitive to the needs of those people. And sometimes they may be frustrated, but we have to address their frustrations. And I just would like to go back to the resolutions. For me, many of these people I know because of somebody being born and raised here in Englewood, and their contributions are immeasurable, and their sacrifices and their coordination and their working with all groups in the city of Englewood. The tomorrow night at the library, I will be hosting a conversation around Black commerce and entrepreneurship. And I will bring to light the number of people who are involved in the city of Englewood, really helping the commerce around the city of Englewood. And it'll be an educational point, and I'll be joined by some other folks on a panel to talk about it, but I'm looking for contributions from all the folks who have something to add in this talk. But I think it'll be a great honor to those people, many of them who are not with us anymore, to honor their contributions to the city of Englewood. So if you have time, come out and participate and enjoy a conversation and education, because we're going to tell the story and put the facts where they need to be and put some history behind it. So I look forward to seeing people tomorrow night at this, and the library will be supporting this effort, but I will be hosting it, and more to come. So stay safe, and thank you for coming out again.
Thank you. Mr. Cohn?
Thank you. It's first of all, just before I get into the more substantive pieces of my remarks, I just want to once again thank our city agencies, both Sonia, Franz, Ed Roy, our police, fire, etc. During the snowstorms and whatnot, there are always all kinds of what seem to be small quality of life issues, but there is no small quality of life issues. And whether it was a sign that went down because of the snow, or all kinds of little things of that nature, the city's responsiveness, under Sonia's leadership, I've seen really be taken seriously. So Sonia, thank you for your responsiveness, and please express the gratitude of of the city, and for those kind of quick actions on things that might seem small but make a big difference in people's lives. So I just want to start just with that. It's funny when in my head, I'm thinking about a lot of things as I'm hearing everybody here talk. Both about some of the luminaries that we honored here tonight, and in recognizing Black History Month, First of all, I would say, when I think of, like I said earlier about Gordon Johnson in a whole host of different ways. Over the last week or two, as many folks here have likely heard, there's been a real spate across the region of serious, anti-Semitic attacks. And when I think of who was one of the first people at every one of those situations to stand up and to join hand in hand and fight against all kinds of hate. Gordon's been there through thick and thin every single time. I remember standing with him a few years back when when there was an incident at Rutgers. When the incident happened again at Rutgers with Josh Gottheimer just a few weeks ago. When there was an incident in Manhattan a few years ago, he came to Manhattan to speak to school kids, about all kinds of things. And what we talk about also all the time, is the long and rich and significant and critical history of the relationship and alliance between the Black and Jewish communities in combating hate and combating anti-Semitism and racism hand in hand. And I've been, some of the names that I've heard here, folks talking about tonight. I go back in my memory and remember the great privilege that I've had to really get to know some luminaries through the travels that I've had. I remember when Michael Wilds had just mentioned John Lewis. When I was a young kid on the Hill, and we were talking about putting together the first Black Jewish Relations Conference on Capitol Hill in a generation at least. The member of the Congressional Black Caucus that I was working for, the first person he told me to go to and get to sign on was John Lewis. And I remember walking into John Lewis's office, and I don't know for the life of me why they let a kid like me in to meet with the member himself, but they did. And he and I had an opportunity to talk about putting a conference together of that nature and fighting hate together. And we were able to really work together very closely for quite some time. And we put one on the next year also. And so I really got to know him on a personal level. And, unfortunately, like they say, youth is wasted on the young. I don't think I appreciated 20 years ago, just the good fortune that I had, and hearing the stories that he had, and also having the opportunity in my life to speak to, and meet with Ed Koch and speak about, his recollections along with John Lewis's recollections of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, and hearing directly from individuals of that caliber. The member of Congress I worked for Shirley Chisholm, and she used to call into the office, looking for him. But, when I had the good fortune to answer the phone, I'd end up on the phone with her. To have the opportunity in my life to be able to have those kind of conversations with folks like Shirley Chisholm and John Lewis. And I guess I was just very, very lucky. And to be able to really appreciate and recognize, the incredible rich histories, and how far we've all come, but how far still needs to be traveled. I remember last year for Black History Month, I was able to bring Dwania Kyles onto the council meeting, who was one of the original Memphis 13, and who Martin Luther King was supposed to come to her house the night he was assassinated, while her father stood by his side. But being able to to know our history is the only way we can move forward in our future. And I think all of these stories and all of these recollections, about those individuals who were truly luminaries. Those are the stories we need to tell at a time like this, and really make sure the next generation recognizes the shoulders that are stood upon, and and direction that we still need to go, and the fights that still need to be fought. And when I look at Englewood, we all have still a long way to go to, and hopefully we can we can make sure to use these recollections and to use the reminiscence, to use the leadership and examples that those who stood before us gave us to make Englewood the best city it could possibly be. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Marin.
Thank you. First, I'd like to announce that the Traffic Advisory Committee will be meeting tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. It should be posted on the city website if anyone is interested in sitting in and hearing, I was going to say our tales of woe, but I won't go that far. Anyway, I'm looking forward to an active and successful group this year. Since we're starting earlier, hopefully we'll have more of a chance to get things done. I would also like to salute all of the men and women, black men and women from Englewood that were in the resolutions. Proud to say a couple of them are from the 3rd Ward. Very proud to know most of them. And it suddenly occurred to me that we left off Russell Major, who was a very good friend of mine and someone I worked with for 6 years on the Englewood Board of Ed, who loved Englewood, who did so much for the kids in Englewood. And I'm really sorry it may be my fault that I didn't call Ken and have a resolution done for him as well. But we have so many terrific people that contribute to this city. And as I say, I'm proud, very proud to know them and to have worked with them. Shirley Lacey certainly was a pioneer, a female politician par excellence in her heyday. She was terrific. Anyway, I'm very proud to be able to say that I knew most of them, and I'm very happy that we passed these resolutions. Okay.
And Councilman Hamer.
Thank you. Let's start off with mental health, and just want everyone, we're still going through a pandemic, and people are still isolated, and much more so than they've ever been. And it's important to do whatever outreach you can. You may be, that lifeline to someone. If you are personally experiencing, some concerns about your own thoughts and behaviors, seek help, ask questions. Don't try to solve all the issues by yourself. And if you see something in family members or friends, reach out to them and reach out on their behalf and, make a difference. Now, I mentioned that we're still going through pandemic and COVID-19. If you aren't vaccinated, we need everybody. The best defense is a vaccination. I'm not a medical person, but it's painfully obvious that the vaccination rates higher vaccination rates are key to fighting this. It's not an absolute. It doesn't mean that you'll never get COVID, but it certainly decreases your chances and decreases the chances that you might spread it to someone else. So do everything you can do to help get us past this point for a whole host of reasons. One of the things that we need to all do is pandemic, as I mentioned, is isolating, and it's kind of forced us to stop visiting our doctors. And that's probably one of the worst things that has come out of this. People stop visiting doctors out of fear of contracting that disease and getting that virus. And it's led to other complications. The medical people that I know speak a lot and loudly about the fact that people aren't visiting their heart doctors the way they should. They aren't taking care of the other issues and illnesses that they have because they've got a healthy fear of COVID. But however you need to get in front of your medical person, please find a way to get that done. Moving into Black History Month, and it's great that we've got these resolutions on, and people are speaking eloquently about their support of Black history, but it's more than just words. Your deeds matter as well. And Arnold Brown's name came up, Gordon Johnson's name came up. Congratulations again to Gordon. But staying on Arnold for a moment, Arnold's been a contributor. He's been a doer, giver, and he's given a lot to Englewood, particularly as it relates to the library. And at some point in the very near future, we need to make a real effort to honor him in a more substantial way, and perhaps designating some portion of the library, or even naming the library itself, after Arnold Brown, and putting that out in public space so that it can be consumed, and whatever action and energy needs to go into looking at that and getting it done is what we need to start, and let's start doing that now. Next, I want to talk about Alfred Avenue. Alfred Avenue activity has begun, demolition started, and we have an obligation, and I hope we take it seriously to have professionals come in and help protect the citizens of Englewood who live in that immediate area. The construction started, dust is flying, the traffic issues are abundant, and there's testing that needs to be done, soil sampling. We need to look at traffic and how we can mitigate some of the impact of that construction, in that area, and think seriously about what having that many apartments in that location is going to do to the surrounding area. Next, there's cannabis, and I'm specifically referring to Alfred Avenue. There's another cannabis conversation that needs to take place and has started. There's a Cannabis Committee that's meeting, but I'm referring to the cannabis activities that are envisioned for Alfred Avenue and the potential impact that they may have, those activities may have on Englewood. Locating or approving cannabis to have a facility on Alfred Avenue is something that we need to, make some movement on, and that needs to happen post haste, not as quickly as doing stuff to slow down the construction, or at least make sure Englewood residents are less impacted by whatever is going on over there. But cannabis certainly does have an impact, potential impact, and the fact that it's located potentially within 1,000 feet of our park, Denning Park, may have federal implications, and we need to explore that in earnest. The next and last thing is we've talked about, and we've been asked about, a citywide assessment. We have the means to pay for an assessment, and we need to, spend the money to do that. We need to work with the nonprofits and, determine how best to assess the citywide. That's everybody here, and determine what the impact of Ida has been. And also, as a result, we can prepare for, the next storm. And hopefully we never see another Ida again. But in the meantime, we need to assess, and it's not a big lift. It's not a heavy spend. It's something that, we need to do to protect us as a city. And it would help with our planning for, how we move forward. But we do need to make a decision determine what the cost would be, and allocate those funds to getting that assessment done and make that information available to everyone so that they themselves can make whatever plans they need to fortify themselves and better protect themselves. But that needs to happen post haste. Thank you. And thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you. So I'm very proud that the first ordinance this year is with regard to affordable housing. As many people here know, I myself grew up in a public housing complex. I know firsthand the power of affordable housing to impact lives and have a positive impact on families. So I'm very proud that that's the first ordinance of the year, and I hope to see it passed at our next regular meeting. I too would like to acknowledge Black History Month. I know people have spoken very well, and I really would encourage everyone, we're halfway through the month, but to, if you haven't already, in the first 2 weeks to engage in some educational opportunity. So we'll have tomorrow night's program at the library. One movie that had an enormous impact on me was the movie 13th directed by Ovid DuVernay. So if you can find that on television, it's frequently played. I think the library might have played it last week, or it might be coming up. But please check for that. That's a very impactful film. One thing we get a lot of questions, and as council president, a lot of questions, and people want to discuss things. It seems a lot of them have to do with engineering and projects going on in town. So one thing I've spoken with Sonia is, maybe we'll have a full-fledged engineering report, much like these conversations, these communications, once a month. So that's something we're working on, and hopefully we can get that enacted soon, because there seem to be a lot of requests for discussion about projects throughout the city. So we're definitely working on that. Thank you all. And Ms. Alvarez Vivieres, do you want to add anything?
Sure. I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention with the Russell C. Major RFP process and where we are. There's been some inquiry with regard to where we are. The 18th, which is this Friday, the responses are due by noon to my office. There are some very precise instructions on how that's going to be done and delivered. So it's on page 8 of the RFP. So please pay attention to those dates and the forthcoming process on the 18th. Followed by that, there will be an interview process so what my suggestion is to the committee is to create a subcommittee. So I would like to put that on as a discussion item for the workshop meeting to talk about a subcommittee for the RFP process and who will be designated to that. With regard to discussions on infrastructure, I think it would be a good idea that once a month we talk about an engineering report and where we are. It would be inclusive of the entire city, not just, of course, Ida, but all other issues that we're dealing with as a city, since we are getting a lot of inquiries about that. We've had some turnover in some of our departments, one being with the farmers market and how it's being run. That going forward will be run by my office. We're looking to make some improvements to market, no pun intended, to market the market a little better. We're not going to change its location, but we're looking to promote small businesses, even small businesses throughout the city of Englewood. So that will be forthcoming. We're planning on looking at the current vendors and prospective vendors. So if there's any interest in the community, we'd sure like to have that. One of the other things is actually making that a destination and perhaps having some entertainment, some live entertainment during those farmers markets. I have a quick update on the Cannabis Committee. We met 2 weeks ago. We're trying to figure out a next meeting. The first meeting involved talking about, well, first of all, we introduced all of the members. We talked a bit about everybody's goals, and we discussed process. We have a designated chair, co-chair. So we are making we're making some moves and having conversations in order to deliver a report to the council. So stay tuned. I will provide updates after each meeting during my report. And that's all I have, Council President.
Thank you. And thank you to everyone for your communications. So now we'll open the meeting to the public.
Ken, before you do, I just want to re-edify that I'll also be convening office hours now that City Hall is reopened, if anybody wants to meet. And just a point of clarification, Mr. Bailey, Dr. Rosenzweig is appointed to the planning board, right? His abstention has to do with just merely filling a quorum. There's no vote against it, so he does get appointed then, correct?
No,
We
you
have a
need,
planning board meeting next week.
no, you need 3 yes votes.
That's not, as I understand the Roberts Rules of Order when it comes to this.
No, the city charter requires 3 affirmative votes in all situations.
Really?
Yeah.
I had understood that the effect of an abstention vote is neither negatively or positively. When members abstain, they're in effect attending only to contribute to a quorum. Votes can be counted in the total of votes depending on the authority. So you're saying the charter itself requires 3 affirmative?
Yeah.
But the planning board can continue to convene and act without a council liaison?
I will double check. Yes, I believe they can, but it's going to have to be addressed because that's a statutory mandate to have a council representative on the planning board. That's under the state municipal land use law. That's not an Englewood thing. That's mandated by the state.
Right. So we have a meeting next week. And, you know, again, we will be taking votes and moving matters forward. I guess I would act as the liaison in the interim, I presume.
Well, you're on the board anyway, just by statute, by virtue
Yeah,
of the.
but I'm saying I can communicate back to the governing body.
Sure. Oh, yes. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Sonia, did you?
I'm sorry, I did have one more thing. We recently were just advised about a grant through Recreation for swim, and I have Merle here. She's just going to speak briefly with regard to that grant and what that grant means for the city.
All right, thank you. Ms. Simons?
Good evening, all, and thank you. I was just pleased to announce last Thursday, I received an email from USA Swimming. This is the grant that we received last year where we had about 1,300 free swim lessons. We also applied for the youth grant again. And this year, we also asked for the adult swim because we had many adults who asked for free lessons. And I'm pleased to announce of 250 applicants, we received both grants, both the youth and the adult grant. And in the coming days, I'll be getting the award letter telling us exactly how much that's going to be. But that money will go towards the salaries for the lifeguards who will be teaching the swim lessons.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ma'am.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Grants are always good.
That's all I have.
All right, thank you, Sonia.
Thank you, Merle.
You're welcome.
All right, so we'll move now to the public session. Yancy, I think there's an email to be read at first.
Yes. So this was an email that was sent to the meeting at cityofenglewood.com address. It is from a Sandra, sorry, I'm going to butcher the last name, Goulian. And it reads, concerned community member, in spring 21, the city of Englewood received $2,789,991.28 to provide assistance to small businesses located in Englewood, among a couple of other ways. How come this funding has not been given to small business owners? It's coming up in a year and nothing yet. My question is why? It's hard to believe the city council and or the senior managers in charge of distributing this funding are still waiting for guidance from Trenton. That was it.
All right, thank you. Does anyone in the public wish to address the council?
We do have hands raised, and just a reminder, everyone has 2 minutes to speak. Once your 2 minutes are up, you will be told your 2 minutes are up and you will be disconnected. And just a reminder about rules of decorum. All right, first on, and if you wish to speak at the bottom of your screen, more button, click raise hand. First is Diane Jansen. Diane, unmute.
Hello, Diane Jansen. You can hear me?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I've been asked to read this on behalf of the Englewood Ida Recovery Team. We were disheartened that 3 items that we asked to be placed on the council agenda for tonight were not placed on the agenda, and we hope that you will discuss them in the future. The first is the formation of an expanded emergency operations plan that includes representation from the community, both nonprofit and civic organizations, as well as houses of worship. 2, a significant, meaningful community assessment regarding flood mitigation that includes community input. This assessment would not only be a flood mitigation, but also a matter of environmental justice. Englewood is one of many communities in New Jersey deemed to be quote unquote overburdened with a significant population of low-income minority and limited English proficiency residents who live in flood-prone areas of the city. And 3, a report from the city manager and the city or the city engineer regarding work in progress with Millennial Strategies, which is the city's grants consultant, to secure grants for improvements in waterways and infrastructure. We request that the city discuss these issues and report back to the community or the IDA team on action taken. I'm also requesting as an individual resident that the report from Hilliard Hines regarding the assessment of the operations and management of the Englewood Police Department be shared with us, and that the judge's determination on affordable housing, how much we have versus how much we need, also be shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you. Nancy, do we have anyone else from the?
No. Oh, here you go. One more person. Peter Jansen. Peter, go ahead and unmute.
Yes, I've unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, please go ahead.
Great, excellent. Thank you. Pete Jansen, 589 Ridgeland Terrace. I would think, the format of the meeting, I think it doesn't work so well for a lot of the residents, not knowing when the city portion or the public portion of the meeting is going to happen. My suggestion is you just say you're going to start at 8 o'clock with the public portion of the meeting and do your private stuff from 7:30 to 8 o'clock. That way the public knows exactly when the meeting's going to start. Second is the agenda. Can we go back to the agenda that was 2 years ago, where there's a summary on the first page? Makes it a lot easier to follow for those that don't know how the meetings run. And my third item is, I asked about this a number of times in our city meetings. It's about doing a survey of our city and where the flood prone areas are. Well, guess what? I found something called Flood Factor. It's a model that shows already where the flooding currently occurs and where is it likely to occur in the future, building off decades of research and forecasts of risks that change over time due to changes in the environment. And that's what we really want to do here, is we want to be ready for the future, not just for what we've seen. So how does Englewood stack up? There are 955 properties in Englewood that greater than 26% chance of being severely affected by flooding over the next 30 years. This represents 12% of all properties in the zip code. And what does that mean? Major, it's 4 out of a scale of 6. Overall, the different areas that will be impacted: residential, moderate and increasing; roads, major and increasing; commercial, major, increasing; infrastructure, severe and increasing. This is why we need to do something in Englewood. Thank you.
Thank you. Yancy, is there anyone else?
Nobody else has their hand raised.
Okay, so we'll close the public session now and we'll move on to bills and claims. All right. Does anyone have any questions about any of the bills and claims for tonight?
I do. Just one question on one item. It's on page 7 of 14. It's the contractual services, the $11,250 spend for county shared services. I thought our number was a significantly less number. Could someone just give me a little bit of information on why it's that high? Are we paying for a longer period of time, or what it's for?
Mr. Kaufman, do you have?
This was for last year's, from July 1st, 2021 through December 31st. The invoice. This is the amount. This is registered environmental health specialist, 11,250. That's what the invoice says. Ask the health department if that's just confirm the amount, but it looks like that's what it was supposed to be.
So this is a 6 month, basically a 6 month number?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, Mr. Volsi's not here, right? He left. I don't see him.
That's right. He had a leave.
Okay, so I just have a question. On page 9 out of 14, we have $7,000 for LinkedIn Learning for the library. Could somebody find out what that is? Are we paying that much for LinkedIn?
I will follow up to see exactly what those services entail.
Okay. And I just have a question on page 13 out of 14. We have a tree planting project. Is that the one that we took on for recognizing people that had passed due to COVID-19? Is that part of that charge right there? Those two charges there? It's about $32,000. Mr. Kaufman, do you know?
That's the 2021 planning project. It does not have to do with the COVID.
So it doesn't have nothing to do with the trees that we donated for people who passed away for COVID and got,
no,
that has nothing to do. That's just that was our project for tree planting?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So these trees have already been planted. That's what you're telling me. And that's we're just paying it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, so do I have a motion to accept bills and claims?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Cobb?
Yes.
Councilman Cohen?
Yes.
Councilman Hamer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Maren?
Yes.
Council President Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Dr. Rosenzweig, if I may?
Yeah.
I just looked at the charter, Mr. Bailey. The mayor can vote to add a third affirmative vote. If you look at section 4.5 D and E, it specifically states that an abstention is not considered to be a negative vote. If you look at section E, the mayor shall have the right to vote in the event of a tie, or the event of the mayor's vote is necessary to provide 3 affirmative votes for the passage of a resolution or an ordinance. This was a resolution, and it's specific on the merits.
Yeah, I will look into that. I think it contemplates when you don't have 3 people or 5 people participating, or if there's a tie, but I'll take another look at it before the next meeting.
No, but it says if you have those amounts of abstentions. I mean, again, there's nobody else being presented to appoint to the planning board. This again is in the realm of sour grapes, where they can't agree to something. And I want to make sure that the city and the planning board is not impacted adversely from this politic. I really appreciate if you could look at it now. This is not interpretation. This is statutory. This is our charter. And there's a provision of law right there. Look at it.
No,
please.
but I do need to look, for example, at the municipal land use law.
Right, but 4.5 D and E would trump land use law.
No, it wouldn't. The state law preempts.
A charter?
Yes. In fact, the charter actually says that.
All right, anyway, look at those provisions.
I'm not going to be able to give you an answer right now. I need time to look at it. I don't want to be wrong.
All right.
Move to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Right, good night, everyone.
Good night, all.
Good night,
Good night.
everyone.
Happy birthday, Wayne.
Good night.
Good night.
Just joking.